going to be using this brand new watercolor pad that I got at Michael's. It's part of their Artist Loft series. It's Artist Level. The paper seems to be pretty nice and thick, but we will see how that goes. I've done some stuff with some of the other papers. For example, I did this painting of Brutus and Bailey. Now, didn't use too much water on these paintings, but as you can tell, the paper, if I just show it on the back, didn't hold up too well to for being watercolor paper. Didn't hold up too well to not that much water actually. For me, watercolor is one of those mediums that the paper or whatever you're using the medium on is as important as the actual material you're using, just because there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong with the paper, like this one's right here. And bring this one out again. It gets really wavy and it gets really deformed by it. It tends to degrade a little bit and not absorb the pigmentation of the watercolors very well. And of course, this was a pretty cheap paper that I used for this. It was a pack of like 100 for $7 or something like that, so it's kind of my fault. Talking about paper, I found these watercolor canvases, and I did this pretty stylized painting on it. So I wanted to test it out to see how it compared to using watercolors, and if it was a good option to just ditch the paper and just go with the watercolor canvases. One of the main differences with the canvas is the fact that although it's great that it stays pretty flat and it doesn't go wavy on you, and you don't have the issue of, if you're doing wet on wet, the water running different directions because of the paper warping on you. It does not absolve the water, doesn't retain the water the way that I'm used to paper doing. There was a lot of areas where the water did kind of pool, and it did take a while, and it did create these rings around the areas that the color was being placed on. My brother's gonna kill me. That's her right there. That's me. That's my brother with his leg on her. I'm going to be using the watercolor pencils. This one is a dark brown, and I also have the golden rod. Still allow me to show most of the eyes. One of the characteristics about her was always, she always had a little bit of hair in front of her eyes, kind of blocking her eyes a little bit, so I definitely want to keep that. And then she had black ears. And so that's a really quick sketch. Hopefully that shows up very well. I'm gonna try to do this with the cartoony theme. It's just gonna be your typical, almost coloring book grass, because it works really well. I bought these about two years ago. My friend Tati, which I love very much, sent me some art that an artist did using these. They're the Dr. P.H. Martin's watercolor things. I'm not sure if there's a specific name they have for these. Basically, they're little bottles with liquid watercolors. When I mean liquid, I mean really liquid watercolors that you just use a drop or two and dilute it with water, and it gives you a very, very, very powerful coloration with them. I have this palette that I've used before for these. Here's the first true test of this paper. What I've learned is sometimes squeezing the dropper will give you too much, so what I sometimes do, I just touch it to the palette like that. So I like this little pale green, but I think I'm gonna add a little bit more of this darker green. Again, this is just really watered down to this point. Blending a little bit on it. So it's holding up okay. I feel like I've definitely used better watercolor paper, but it's not really warping much. Now let me show you on the next page. I'm just gonna dip my brush straight onto the green. I'm gonna dip my brush straight onto the green from the original, and that's the actual color you get, and you get lots of it. Again, this is more of a little sketch, so I'm not gonna do the full page, but what I'm going to do is going to do enough around her to kind of let it be more of a contain little, almost like children's book illustration. Everything went wrong. So I'm going to try to do a little bit more of a gradient, so I'm going to try to pick up more color from the same spot from before, and since it's wet on wet, it should be a lot easier to do the gradient down. Now I'm noticing now the paper, it is breaking up a little bit, so that's not ideal, but so for the body, I'm going to go ahead and move away from these colors, although they're nice, bright, and beautiful. I want something that's going to give me more mid-tones. I'll be using these Jerry Q. I think it's Jerry Q Art watercolors that I've had for a while too. I've had for a while as well. Go on a little bit and get some details placed, some tones, a little bit of shading place around the drawing, just to kind of keep it not consistent, but kind of keep track of what I'm thinking and what it's looking like. So I'm gonna try to detail her shoulder and how her front legs come down through here without having too much of a hard line. The paper's still pretty wet on the areas I just recently did, so I'm not pushing down fully on my brush. I'm just lightly just tapping the tip on the areas I want the color to take, just the tip of the brush. And then I'm gonna kind of continue through here like so. And kind of give it some more definition. As you can see now, it's a little bit more clear and obvious right through there. It's a little bit more clear and obvious right through here that that's just not hair from her face, it's more hair coming from the top of her head down onto her face. I'm going to go ahead and just blend things a little bit more. The body's looking a little light, so what I'm going to do now is, since I didn't paint the whole thing one mid-tone, I'm able to go back and add some color to it. I'm going to rely on purple. to break up the browns on her and add a little bit more midtones to her body. Kind of leaving a very strong highlight on the black ears, just because although I'm going to probably add a little bit more shading after I do the shading on the ground, I want for the black not to be so overpowering. The hair from the top of the head should cast more of a shadow on the face. I'm just gonna go in there with this and kind of add that throughout. Some of this green right here, the all green, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of fill that in. The light rays couldn't really hit that area, so it creates more of a diffuse shadow there. So here she is in all of her cuteness, and I'm going to try to see if I can get it to focus correctly, because right now I guarantee you it's not. There we go. That's in focus now. So there she is. She is all finished now. And I think I'm done for today. Here's the other one. Still cutesy, cartoony style. Alrighty. Time for me to stop now. Bye.